Hello, folks. I greet you one more time. Welcome to Homo Politicus. Now you see we are television active on Enterprise Television, and what we do on Homo Politicus is to interrogate issues thrown up by my Nigerian Federation and yours. Today, thinking anew. Activists suggests a return to regionalism and scrapping of presidential system. You know, when the late German dictator and so-called second Antichrist Adolf Hitler said, "How fortunate for governments that the people they administer don't think," the Führer was reflecting on how a non-thinking populace is easier to control. A retired civil service director and activist, Dr. Akin Fakbohunda, has drafted a bill seeking to return Nigeria to regional governance, and by the same token, a break with the presidential system of government. The talk about restructuring had split hairs in the country with the impression that we are not a thinking people. Dr. Fakbohunda, beg your pardon, has set a challenging agenda for us all. The French philosopher, if you remember him, Voltaire, cautioned that a man should be judged by the questions rather than by his answers. Hadn't we better think anew? Is the activist right or wrong? Shall we have a conversation? Yes, my guests this morning are very familiar to you. In no particular order, let's meet and greet Barrister Evans Ufeli, a constitutional attorney and a political commentator. Barrister Ufeli, I greet you.
Good morning,
Welcome.
sir. Yes.
He's joined by the broadcaster and the communications expert, Cyril Abaku. Cyril, welcome.
Thank you, Citizen Jones.
Yeah, gentlemen, thinking anew. Activist Dr. Akin Fakbohunda has suggested a return to regionalism and the scrapping of the presidential system of government. How do you weigh in, Cyril?
Okay, thank you. So first of all, we hear Dr. Fakbohunda very clearly. He is pining for the days gone by, Nigeria's so-called days of glory. Perhaps brought by the fact that...
Cyril, they were not so-called. Nigeria was great at the time.
Of course, it was great.
When late Professor Chinua Achebe says there was a country, I'm on the same page with him.
There was indeed a country. Especially before independence, a whole lot happened. But again, maybe Dr. Fakbohunda is bored by the fact that we have just only recently returned to the old anthem. We might to galvanize the new Nigeria. We might as well go to the old structure.
Okay.
In order to have Nigeria reborn, which is not something that anybody should find fault with. But I think that what those regions represented before what happened, and that just to put in mind what happened. When I mean what happened, Decree 14 of 1967 on May 27 that year
split the country.
Yes, into 12 states initially, which later became 36 states now.
No, 19.
Incrementally, of course, yes.
Yeah.
More than made 19.
Later 30. And then 36.
36. Abacha was the last to do the last six states, including Bayelsa and so on. Kebbi and I think, and I think Zamfara too.
Zamfara, yeah.
But there are questions on the table. When we say regional government, and by his own imagination, by extension, a return to parliament, or with the prime minister, are we also stricto sensu speaking to the imperative to return to
add another flank, a unicameral legislature?
Of course. And then are we also returning stricto sensu to fiscal autonomy for the regions? Because I, for one, I believe that Nigeria's main problem is the human element within the value chain or in the ecosystem. Of course, that is not without recourse of the fact that structure also plays a fundamental role. But in Nigeria, structure, as good as it may be, the human element has always been Nigeria's surest, most guaranteed element that will cause failure. So, if he's talking about fiscal autonomy for some federal governments, of course, again, the argument is that we may not go back to the 4 regions we had before the coup took place. Okay, it will be more now. So, first, as a federal society, given our heterogeneity, linguistic diversity, and so on, we are going to have a government at the center. Yes. And then there will be...
Sorry, I remember that the Willings Commission 1953
yes.
Came in to look at the issues of minorities.
7 and 8. And then we had the Lancaster Conference and so on. Now, but where I'm going is this really, and I'm very particular about it, is the fact that what we need essentially, whether I want to call it regions, states, governorates, provinces, you know, we even have provinces in the past under agri-rules, the short government of agri-rules for about 6 months. What we need are one. It's not even the nomenclature.
We had up to 36 provinces.
Great. So we need one, a government at the center with defined powers, awarded by a book of laws, which we call the Constitution, right? Which must become a people's constitution and not a constitution that was born by a decree of an military dictator. Right. Number 2, we will not have subordinating governments or sub-federal governments by whatever name they are named. The question will now be, by what criteria or criterion are we going to designate them as federal governments? Above we used to famously declare that Nigeria should have only 18 federal governments. All right? Or using linguistic affinity as yardstick. That as many language groups as possible should come together to form one unique cultural
one whole.
Yes, which means that we will be responding as cultural units. But some others have also argued that we should respond, that we should cut those
with 317 languages.
Well, I don't know. Okay, let me let you
know. By Zofeli, perhaps it bears. Let me drop this here. 5 countries have recently, in the recent past, changed their national anthems, namely South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Austria, and Canada. So obviously, if, as Charles said, Cyril, beg your pardon, said that Dr. Fakonda's kite is coming on the strength of that, what about thinking that way? Are we really a thinking people? I think Fakonda is telling us that we think.
Yes, and he's saying we think. We think because we have a history. Okay, I mean, for him to even conjure that we should do a return means something worthwhile once existed. Okay, yeah, that is how I see it. And this era seems to be the era of returns. Yeah. Return to this, return to that. That's because Nigeria worked as at the time.
We were kind of retooling.
Yes, retooling. Maybe because Nigeria worked at the time when those practices were instilled. But the truth is that Nigeria's journey to fine-tuning and making government possible for the people started way back, colonial times. You know, Frederick Lugard had to look at the structure and came up with the 1914 Council.
Okay.
The 1914 Council wasn't a constitution, but it was more of an administrative document to put up, parliament or an agenda for the ease of administration. That was the first time that natives were drawn into governance, but they were just counted as numbers to appease their psychology. Their contribution was not required. And from there, when Clifford became the governor in 1922, he now
Governor General.
Yes, Governor General of Nigeria in 1922. He now came up with what they call the Clifford Constitution of 1922 that set down the elective principle, which led to the formation of the first political party in Nigeria in 1923, the NNDP. Yeah. Now, all those were attempts, that also had its own fragmentation that collapsed under some kind of contradiction. From there, we moved to the Richard Constitution of 1946. Richard came up primarily with regionalism. This regionalism started actually from the Richard Constitution of 1946 that was later outlived by the First World War, Second World War. Then from there,
Second World War.
Yeah, from there we pulled out to the Littleton Constitution of 1954. Littleton set an agenda for legislative, what we call today, maybe what we call the houses we have, State House of Assembly, Federal House of Assembly, and the formation and thereof in 1954. Mark Fersen took it. Mark Fersen came first in 1951, before Littleton in 1954. Now, these were all attempts before we even started the constitutional conferences from 54, 50, and all that before we got to independence. The independent constitution also didn't hold Nigeria together because the federal government was still resided in England, as it were. So in 1963, they pulled out the Supreme Court from the Judicial Privy Council. Yes. Judicial Privy Council in England. Then the Supreme Court of Nigeria was now established in 1963. Then we now have, by the 1963 Republican Constitution, where you now have the issue of a parliamentary system of government.
Yeah.
And when you look at it,
and for that matter, regionalism and so on.
Yes, so that regionalism, that's what the doctor is talking about. That at that time we had, first of all, we started with 4, right? It became 5 by the creation of the Midwestern region.
3 became 4.
3 became 4. Yeah, 3 became 4. Okay, and these are still attempts.
Yes.
Till today, when we put that in 1979, so the American type. Democracy. We had a presidential system of government with enormous powers. Ours was actually not like the Americans because we made the center stronger than the component units. As against the United States, where the component unit are stronger than the center. Okay, so that is where we got it wrong from. When we now have vested all powers, place it in Abuja, every other state start to run around like, errand boys and all around the federal government. Then the politics deepened and got worse to the point where we are now that the government we're now running is not sustainable. We can't sustain it. So I am an advocate of this regional system. Let's have a regional system. Maybe not in the semblance of what we had before. Perhaps I will suggest that this time around.
Modified?
Yes, I'll suggest that this time around it should be 6. Okay, because the regions already exist as we speak. We call, we talk about south, southeast, northeast.
But the original southeast in Nigeria is today's Cross River State and Akwa Ibom.
Yes. So if we
actually south and southeast together.
Yes.
The old eastern region.
As at that time,
no, the old eastern region was south. No. Today's Akwa Ibom and Cross River was southeastern state. You remember?
Southeastern state now. No, as at that time,
today the southeast is simply talking about the Igbo country.
Yes. There are 5 states in the. So that's why if we go along that line, then we collapse all the states in those 6 geopolitical zones into one region each. You will now limit.
So the 6 geopolitical zones is a little relative to what Dr. Fakman
the structure already is there. What it requires now is to collapse the administrative internal processes so that the whole of the Southeast will now have 1 governor as against 5 governors.
Okay.
When you have 5 governors, you have 5 houses of assembly. That's cost.
Yeah.
You have ministries. Maybe you have Ministry of Justice in Enugu. You have Ministry of Justice in Anambra. You have Ministry of Justice in Abia. When you collapse, you now have 1. All those ministries, you now have 1. Then you're able to save funds and then project. Then each region should now have powers to be able to mine and whatever their own resources. That you now have competitiveness. That way, Nigeria will gain more power and strength than what we have today, where everything is balkanized. Everybody's looking for what to excavate. And nobody's thinking the country. Nobody's thinking the region. So the professor is thinking, he's doing a lot of, and I think I agree with him.
Yeah. So generally, Syria, Nigeria in the recent past had split hairs, over restructuring.
Yeah.
Is this not one way of curing that ill, that malaise, once and for all time?
It sure is, but it won't be everything. That's why when I was talking,
It would be a silver bullet.
No, what I mean is this: it puts us on a path, but it's not El Dorado itself. It's not Uhuru yet, because when he was talking about now when the regions are created or recreated, as the case may be, we now award them powers to mine. I'm not sure if this bill includes fiscal autonomy, powers for fiscal autonomy. And this
if you go there without fiscal autonomy, you are doing nothing.
It becomes a problem.
Yes.
Now,
that's status quo already.
You have said you are not sure about the
fiscal autonomy. Yes.
Wordings of the bill.
Now, let me give you an example. When Gowon was to create the 12 states, there was an issue it was to cater for. It was the issue of minorities. Because in the old Eastern region, states like today's Rivers, Bayelsa, Cross River, were all summed up into one lump, which was the Eastern region. And these people felt that they didn't have enough expression. That when culturally they were not the same, ecologically they were not the same.
Do you remember the old Core River State struggle? Core State struggle.
Which didn't
Calabar,
come to
Ogoja, and Rivers.
Yes. Which didn't come to pass. But
even with states today, there are minorities in states that also feel the same way.
For example, if you went to Cross River, you go to Cross River and Benue, you have the Igedes, 2 local governments in Cross River, 2 local governments in Benue. So they are weakened automatically. They can't become anything. You have the Jaws in Rivers, Bayelsa, Edo, Ondo, Delta. They are weakened.
In Ogun State,
they baggy. Yes.
You have the Yewa people, who may not get the plum job there.
They may never get it. I mean, even in Ondo, it's not that somebody like Governor. But though there are certain issues that will be taken care of if merit was entrenched, actually, right? But there are other issues that will not be addressed because people have been structurally marginalized. Okay. And so what must we? I just think that if we are honest and sincere, we need to get back together. There was the person was talking about the conference that took place in 50s. The first one that took place in Ibadan, all Nigerian conference. There have been attempts, and then after independence, we've had more than 10 or about. Why
10 conferences?
And so,
and 10 conferences reports.
Exactly. Good. So, but what have we done to sincerely sit down and say, how now shall we organize ourselves to live together? I tell you what, India, Germany, Australia, Canada, even the US are all federal arrangements, right?
Yes,
but they are all uniquely their own federal. They are uniquely federal in their own ways. We too can come home, domesticate our own ideas and identity, and look at what work for us.
In the US, it doesn't matter where you come from.
Yes.
No. In India, second most populous, or I hear it's the number 1 most populous. I don't know now. India. Democracy, they are running the parliamentary system.
Yes,
they are.
The parliamentary system, yes.
Because
it's just a unique camera.
Look, if and that will even work for us better. My argument is simple. If you look at how Europe has developed, the parliament is the beauty of democracy.
It's the engine room.
The presidential whatever that we have today is purely an American. Look at Europe. They don't have presidency. It's purely American. And so they look at their own cultural nuances and adopted what will suit them. Okay.
Yes, because having a president generally draws too much power to the center.
It does.
If you have if you have a prime minister, you have broken down the weight of power.
Let me add this. Today, as we sit here, a son of the sitting American president, Hunter Biden, is facing charges in court.
Criminal prosecution.
Yes.
It cannot happen here.
Most likely
it won't happen here because we
have stronger men, women, as opposed to stronger institutions.
Yeah, we have strong institutions. That's one. 2, corruption has really dealt with us because we embrace it alongside the kind of presidential system we have
elected to practice.
Yes. So and meritocracy is not an issue that is discussed here. People don't, because one of the indices for measuring first world country is one, meritocracy, access to credit, public health care.
Yeah.
There are 5 of them. Any country that don't have this 5 cannot be measured in that light. So in the US, for example, it does not matter where you are from, whether you are from Kansas, you are from that state, California, or whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you are an American.
You are a citizen.
You are a citizen, and then you embrace the dream and you move. You move.
Yes.
I hope this is relevant here. You talked about allowing these regions to have not just their basic autonomy, but to also have powers over minerals,
their resources.
Resources. That way they will develop faster.
The country with the largest bitumen deposits in the whole world is Venezuela. The second is Nigeria.
Yes.
Specifically in Ondo State.
Yes.
Ondo State cannot exploit it.
They cannot exploit it because
but the whole country elects to import bitumen.
Yes, that is madness. Because if you look at the Mineral Resources Act, Nigeria, if that from section 1, it says it clear that whatever is beneath the soil, the federal government is in charge of it. He holds it in trust for the people. You understand? Whatever is beneath the soil. So that is where the states, they took that power away from the states. Now, even what is on top the soil, the Land Use Act now took it also from the people and gave it to the governor to hold in trust for them. By the 1978 Land Use Act, Obasanjo promulgated. So at the end of the day, the people have no access to what is beneath the soil. They even have no access to what is, by the abolition of freehold. Now they can only administer and appropriate land by virtue of a CFO issued to them by a governor. So we are not thinking about the people in our legislation.
Barrister Ofeli, Nigeria's grave problem is that we are suffering in the midst of plenty and living beggarly lives in a 21st century world.
That's exactly what's going on because of the kind of laws we have elected to, promulgate. And the day we begin to make laws for the purpose of empowering the citizens, that is the day Nigeria will start to grow. Look at the change of the anthem. Look at the speed with which that law passed. Look at the one on minimum wage. Look at how slow that has cost us even that government.
Minimum wage act is like a can. We are kicking it down.
We are kicking it away. The minimum wage act, Femi Falana has called out the federal government yesterday. Pass the minimum wage act with the speed at which you pass the National Anthem Act. Do that so that, because what is important is the human resources, not the poetry they have to recite. They need to be well fed and even understand the poetry that you want them to
memorize and recite.
Yes, do that.
Cyril, and we must not forget that the first local government in this country, it came as an experiment. Is Ikorekben, 1955.
Yes.
It came as an experiment. It is now accepted as a third tier of government.
Yes.
But we are not giving life to that third tier.
We are not giving life to the third tier. Mr. President, the federal government now has a case at the Supreme Court in which it has, the word innocuously used is dragged. All right, in which it has summoned the governors of the states to judgment to say we want to cut the umbilical cords, off of the placenta off of you so that the government can breathe.
Yeah,
there are very far-reaching, perhaps inimical political implications in that right now, but this is something that we've agitated for many years.
Yeah.
So but if the purpose of cutting off local government areas is for the federal government to be giving them allocation directly, well, it doesn't solve any problem really, because when one captor leaves, another captor takes over. What we really want is a case whereby power originates from the local government, passes down passes up to the state governments or regional governments,
But
and from there,
freedom is one of the way true power can originate.
Yes.
Because without freedom and that financial freedom,
sure, of course,
power will not be able to
but the person who gives you money, you know, you're still tied to the person's apron strings.
Yes, the person who gives you money tied to the apron string. But now the citizens are hereby informed to hold their local government chairman to account as to how that money.
That's it.
That money, because the truth is that local governments,
Because there'll be a paradigm shift, as the white man says.
yes, there
So
will be.
rather than look at the center, you look at
All of us live in local governments.
Yes.
This place is a local government.
Mm.
And when things go wrong, we shouldn't be looking for the governor.
Yeah.
or the president.
And do you know that the councillors, that the legislative arm of the local government,
Yes.
they sit and that make bylaws. Okay,
Then
those bylaws are the laws that you use at your local government level.
Mm.
So why should you not empower them so that they can really come up to life as to what the constitution actually intended? And I'm wondering which attorney general, because now 8 of them have not filed defense, and I want to see the proceeding. I will go to court. I will go to Supreme Court and the hearing. I want to see the attorney general of the state who will stand before the court and say, "My lord, you know what? I am bringing this motion in order that development must not come to my state." Because that's what it means. If I were to be an attorney general of any of the state, I will rest my case on the case of the federal government and call the court to make a ruling. Decide based on law. I will rest my case. You shouldn't file a defense.
All right.
Filing a case against development comes to my state.
Gentlemen,
Makes sense.
again, the index finger of the producer is saying, wind up, so we must go.
Yes.
In doing so, gentlemen, Cyril, it's possible for you to wrap up in 60 seconds. We are asked to think by Dr. Fakponda.
Yes.
And don't forget what I said when I quoted Voltaire. He said, a man should be judged by his questions rather than his answers.
What Nigerians must do now is to begin to interrogate and reinterrogate the present system. Have we succeeded? Have we failed? Is it working? Will it ever work? If it won't, then in the question also lies the answer. And I think that's what Dr. Fakponda has done for us. Calling for a return to the presidency of government.
Okay.
Yes, we already have the answers. In fact, when Nigeria came into life from its embryonic stage to where it was before this whole shenanigans started, we were working from the answers. We're working with the answers. That was why Nigeria was that good. People talking about there was a country. People who went to UI then said they were feeding them, they had meal ticket, and they gave them cars after they graduated in the same country.
And jobs were waiting.
And as at that time, the countries that were doing that in the world were few. We had a TV station before France.
Yes.
A stadium.
Yes, we are producing agriculturally. We're producing far beyond this. I mean, I don't think the country you call Thailand, I don't think it existed at that time. Well, possibly was with one other country before the split and all that, which are now known for agriculture. Israel and the rest of them.
Today that we are importing palm oil from Malaysia is a big shame.
Yes, and all that.
Shame.
So we used to have the answers. Later, military took over, some other things happened, and many other things happened thereafter. We left the answers and started asking questions, working with questions. We've not been able to solve those questions until today. Somebody now is saying, this doctor said, let's go back.
We are thinking one more time.
Yes.
All right. We want to rest it here. Cyril Abaku, many thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Barrister Evans Ufeli, thank you too.
Thank you.
I hope to have both of you very soon.
Very well.
So the big idea is to mold opinion and lay it on you. How do you react to it? We are thinking anew. An activist is suggesting a return to regionalism and a scrapping of the presidential system. Are you in tune with this thinking? Or what do you say? Until the next time, this is yours very sincerely, Citizen Jones Hussein, saying bye-bye. Thank you very kindly. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.